The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Peter Obi, has called on stakeholders in the electricity sector to be strategic, adding that the increase in electricity tariff should have been deliberated before the hike. Obi, who spoke in Gombe State while commissioning a water project in the metropolis, allayed fears of him leaving the Labour Party or any collaboration with any politician ahead of the 2027 general elections. He advocates human capital development as part of efforts to address some of the challenges facing the nation, stressing that it is a major campaign message of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections.
Things have doubled, things have tripled. It makes even the poor more difficult to live in our society. We should all think it through, see how we can provide remedy, how we can deal with it, especially as it concerns the poor areas.
But in a stout defense of the hike in electricity tariff, the federal government says it cannot continue to pay 70% of electricity subsidy for Nigerians, explaining that to ensure the current economic downturn does not harshly impact the lower rung of the society, government will embark on the gradual phase-out of underpayments or bands B to E and then Lifeline. The government says it is currently subsidizing power for Nigerians, but the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, also says this is not sustainable in the long run. Adelabu says the federal government has spent about 2.9 trillion naira on electricity subsidy, and it is still subsidizing 85% of electricity supply in the country, despite increase in tariff for Band A customers. The minister reiterates that government remains pro-poor in its power policy because it is subsidizing nothing less than 67% of the cost of producing, transmitting, and distributing electricity in Nigeria. And the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry says the recent rise in electricity prices is a potential threat to the long-term viability of businesses. President of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Emeka Obegolu, expresses concern that this increase will adversely affect businesses throughout different sectors of the economy. He notes the existing difficulties entrepreneurs and investors are grappling with and suggests that small and medium enterprises vital to the economic fabric will suffer considerably as a result of the hike. Well, let's take a wider perspective on this developing story. From Lagos, we have Laboros Oshoma, is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, and Dr. Sam Amadi, Associate Professor of Law and is a former national chairman of the National Electricity Regulatory Commission. And here in the studio, we have an entrepreneur, Oni Oluwadamilola. Let's start with you, Oni. Damilola Oni. The increase, I mean, there's been a big outcry against the increase, and from your experience so far in the last 96 or so hours that the tariff has gone up, has it been for the kind of business you do? You are a baker, you are a confectioner, let's put it that way. Has it been?
Yes, it's been terrible. It's not up to a week. I actually discovered that the tariff has been increased. And it's just amazing because we categorizing us, where my company is part of Abuja, not supposed to be categorized.
Where is your company?
Kurudu Abuja. It's not supposed to be categorized under Band A because we don't have up to 20 hours.
How many hours of electricity do people in Kurudu live?
Before the dry season, we used to have like 12 hours, not up to 20 hours, because Band A is supposed to have 20 hours minimum, not even maximum, minimum of light, yes. But we are far from that. And before, the former tariff, it was 60 68 naira per unit. Now it's 225 naira per unit.
And that's going to really impact on your cost
Seriously,
of...
we don't even know how to deal with it, because you have to be paying more attention on the electricity you consume on each product that is leaving the bakery for supply.
And of course, that's going
to affect our sales, and we don't have option than to increase whatever that we are making for customers.
And if prices are increased, will it mean more sales or less sales?
It's going to be less, because some people will consider it like it is
luxury.
Not a priority for me to do this. Let me leave it, since it's very, very expensive. And then if we buy units before, let's say 10,000 naira, it used to be 168 units. Now it has reached to 41 units. The margin, the difference is too much.
The difference indeed. That's what Nigerians are saying. Let's go to Owerri, where Dr. Sam Amadi, former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, is there. Sam, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I mean, the caustic situation, I mean, against the NERC and the federal government is so palpable and the rest. Do you think that this decision is the wisest at this time in time that government, should increase electricity tariff?
Well, I think, thank you for having me. I think the basic thing here is, if you hear the minister is concerned with government's own balance sheet. He claims, trillions being paid for subsidy, and that they can't continue. But look, there are two problems with this increase. We know that for long, government has been looking for a way to bring in revenue, more funds into the sector. The bankruptcy is evident. The discos are not financially viable. So this has created a sense of, of anxiety. But again, three things. First is you needed to have proper consultation. For example, people on Band A, who are these Band A? You need to take from them evidence that they have even got up to, on average, consistently, average of 16 hours, let's say 16 hours, 18 hours a day on the average for, let's say, 6 months. So that guarantees to you that they ought to be on Band A. Then, if you want to keep them on Band A and increase the tariff, the question is, what's the guarantee that they're going to get 20 hours a day? Now, are we getting new supply? Is there a new investment that is going to increase the capacity of the disco, let's say, with the different company, to supply these numbers? I'll give an example. In ECO, the report is that they had 21 feeders that are under Band A, but now it suddenly grew to 181. So you're going to say the first problem is that there is poor consultation, due process. Yes, the Act enables NEC to ensure just and fair tariff. That's the principle. Just tariff and fair tariff means that you cover the cost of production. Well, I think that we are fair to everybody. The second issue is, why should Band A seem to be over subsidizing the other consumers? So it looks like government wants to drop the ball on Band A. And the key principle of electricity regulation is that everybody should pay, there should be minimal cross subsidy. So if Band A moves from 60-something to 225, in fact, at that price now, we are more than South Africa, we are more than Canada, they are paying more than most consumers in the world than Band A. So you have a problem that people who are put on Band A are not even supposed to be Band A. For example, before this increase, I wasn't on Band A, and the people are saying, maybe we'll get to Band A, we'll have more power. Suddenly, we're on Band A. In 3 weeks ago or more, we never had up to 4 hours consistent light in the last 1 month or 2. So you smuggle people into Band A. What NEC has done, this will create a floodgate. The discos will manipulate and smuggle people into Band A in order to make more money. And again, the regulator will not have the tools to, retail level, to monitor all this, manipulation. And to give an example, NEC has already slammed or claimed to have slammed Abuja Disco with 200 million naira fine. Why? Because they discovered that they were smuggling people into Band A who
probably supposed to be band F or C or D. So this whole process is messy. First, they should have allowed, before I left NEC, we had the regulation on tariff, which they used, which requires each disco to consult with each customer group. So, for example, if the disco applied to NEC to allow them increase to 225 naira per kilowatt hour for band A, it is the disco's responsibility to call for a public hearing with those on that on the affected band and say, look, this is what we want to do. This is the justification. That is the essence of regulation. It's not for NEC to say that they have applied to us and we've been able to, review and decide to be able to now say approved. There should be consultation. That's basic. The second issue here is, now the National Assembly can now step in and say, okay, show us the book. Show us how you make the decision. Show us that the evidence of all these feeders, that you had evidence that these feeders are affected, actually received even 16 hours on average, or 18. So we can now reasonably say that the disco can ramp up 2 more hours. I mean, how can, for example, if people are getting 10 hours, 12 hours, how do you assume that they're going to get 20 hours? There are no new investments immediately. There are no improvements in the factors that they lead to performance. So this is going to be a rip-off in 2 ways. One, the people on that band are not going to get 20 hours consistently. Second, people who are not even close to 20 hours will be smuggled into that band. So at the end of the day, the federal government has financial crisis over the sector. And the best way for them to say, if we increase the tariff holistically,
yes, Dr. Sam Amadi, I think you've nailed it. Yes, I think you've nailed it succinctly there. But let's go to Lagos, where lawyer and public affairs analyst Laboros Oshoma is there. Laboros, from what the former NERC chairman has painted, do you see some criminal tendencies in the categorization of government bans for this electricity consumption?
First and foremost, I must apologize. I didn't hear him at all. I didn't hear Dr. Sam Amadi at all. So I really don't know the picture he painted. But I would say that this band A, band B, that's saying now, before it was disco, now you have a band for the disco. So when you play a band, definitely there'll be disco. So that's on the lighter side. But unfortunately, we categorize some persons and say those people that enjoys 20 hours of power supply. And as far as I can remember, between May 2023 and now, the national grid has collapsed about 2 or 3 times. So when you have a force majeure in such situation where there is a collapse and you're already charging people that exorbitant rate, you say, and yet you're charging them that high. Secondly, it is very easy to say that you're charging that rate for the 15% who are enjoying 20 hours power supply. But we forget the multiplying effect of that rate, because at the end of the day, it is that man who is on band Z that is going to bear the cost. If, for example, you have a company who is on band A and you increase electricity tariff, certainly his cost of production is going to increase. And so it's going to push that cost of production down the line to the consumer. Already, you have removed subsidy on petroleum products. You've removed subsidy on the, power supply now. No matter how epileptic it is, expenses. People are subsidizing government lifestyle. People are subsidizing political office holders. If we create a level playing field where this hardship, everybody, those in government even bears it more, then nobody will complain. As we speak now, there's no subsidy on. So there is no alternative. The cost of diesel is high. Also, the cost of power supply is very high. So that is why I agree what government should do. There is no society in the world where government does not subsidize to a large extent. Even in America, when we talk about capitalism, capitalists, they still subsidize farming. They subsidize, some of these things. And the cost of living.
Yeah.
Our people. So if you put all of this together, the answer you will get is that this increment is unreasonable at this time. Government should try as much as they can to at least increase the cost of living, and they are then negotiating increment in wages for workers. Now, the federal government workers does not even form 20% of the population. Who negotiate the cost of wages or minimum wage for every other persons, like those in private sector? And these are the people who are also going to bear this burden. And then now, a lot of people are grappling to even understand where they belong to, whether they are shop in an area that enjoys 20 hours of power supply, your cost is going to increase. And yet, it is that small shop man who can barely eke out a living. School fees is not subsidized, but we subsidize pilgrimages. You saw the schools where children were kidnapped in Kaduna, and you are ashamed to call that a school. And yet we're subsidizing pilgrimages, we're subsidizing lifestyle. And then we can't even subsidize cost of production.
Well, laborious. Okay, would let you leave it there because we're having this intermittent audio problem there. I think our satellite feed, a little technical problem there, but it will be sorted during the course of this conversation. Let's come to Damilola in the studio here. Damilola, well, government would say they've created a lot of avenues where small business holders like you can get funding either from SMEDAM, even from Bank of Industry and the rest, to help cushion the effects of the subsidy removal from petrol, now from electricity. How far do you really get some of these cushions, economic cushions that the federal government, say they've outlined for business holders like you?
What is the major problem now is the electricity, the fuel, and the high cost of price of raw materials in the country. A lot of bakers like me, they have backed up. They are even selling their items to leave the baking industry. For example, if you don't know anything baking, you will know bread. It's not in the same price the way it was 2 years, 3 years. Even last year, the rapid increase in price has gone up totally. And then, if we are to look at it, this recent increase in electricity tariff is going to add a lot of problem to business owners like us, like me, because to make a cake in our bakery now, we have to use electricity. If there is no electricity, we need to switch to generator. And if there is no generator, we need to switch to electricity. In one way or the other, we use machines to power, we use electricity to power our machines before any product can leave the bakery. And it's going to affect a lot of things because we keep increasing the prices of our products every week, every month. Even the customers are frustrated. Some will say that we'll get back to you, and they won't come back. We are just appealing to the government to see to it, because if it's continuing like this, it's going to frustrate the business owners more and more.
Well, it's like, yes, the bandwagon effect or the snowball effect is really catching up now. Let's go back to Owerri, where Dr. Sam Amadi is. Sam, the social and the ripple effect of this looks like a real snowball effect. Everybody is really going to be consumed in this new hike in electricity tariff prices. Is that not so?
Well, yes, it looks like but again, the government could do it better. For example, in many parts of the world, you see that small businesses and manufacturing, particularly small businesses, are subsidized. And oftentimes, interestingly, ironically, residential consumers pay more because it fits into a development agenda of government. And of course, the spillover effect of growth, whether in terms of growth in products or growth in employment or growth in income triggered by commercial activity, gets to everybody. Now, look at the problem. Let's be very clear. There's actually need maybe to increase the tariff, but that should be done in a manner that is based not on presumption of improvement. That's my worry. Yes, the minister is right that we need to make the tariffs reflect more the cost of production, even though we are going through a big economic crisis. I mean, look at the double effect of fuel, increase in fuel prices, double effect of forex, crisis hitting us. At the end of the day, you are dealing with the same disposable income of consumers, which means that if electricity, if energy cost, fuel, power, take much of their income, maybe up to 60% or so or thereabout, then they will have less income to provide health, education, talk less of goods and services that might not be essential. Of course, like she pointed out, the business people, most of these goods are either have substitutes or they can be dispensed with without injury to life. And so you see people under-consume, and that could lead to economic stagnation because you need to unlock consumption to further drive production. But stepping back, I think I sympathize with the minister and the government that, look, you want to make this sector viable. You want to ensure that the utilities have revenue. But you don't have to do that fraudulently by claiming that people are going to have 20 hours regular power when they never had. I would have preferred to level up and say, you know what, we need to increase this tariff across board, but we need to protect this segment, the poor, those who consume maybe under 50 kilowatt hour per month or 100. The manufacturers, give them a tariff that makes it business-wise for them to invest. But at the same time, don't tell people that they're going to have, don't move them from 64 or something to 222 per kilowatt hour, telling them that they're going to suddenly have, 24 to 20 hours power. That's, for me, shows that the government is trying to, sell something that's not real. Look, Chris, before you have this number of people have 20 hours regular power, it supposes there are new investments coming on, new power plants are on, suddenly the transmission network is working, suddenly the discos have firmed up their network, so somebody can say there is additional supply that's going to come of 400 megawatts, for example, in Abuja. Therefore, all of you are going to have. There's no such thing. So primarily, they are paying for same service. So I want to be honest to say, look, we want to increase the tariff, but don't tell us that suddenly this number of people, 15% of the customer base will have 20 hours when they didn't have it in 3 months. Otherwise, show us the grid, show us your Excel sheet that says that they had this number in the last 3 months. That's not happened. So I sympathize with NEC, with Minister, but the approach is fraudulent and doesn't show enough transparency.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam Amadi. Let me come to you again, Niboros. Would it have been better if the federal government, yes, increasing tariff, not so much percentage as they've done over 200-300%, if they say just pay as you go, pago, like we saw, in the telecoms industry then, instead of a fixed tariff, say pay as you go, as you use our system. Would that have been better?
Yeah, you see, government had consistently over time, let's not deceive ourselves, government had consistently over time jack up this tariff, gradually, consistently, right from the time of the previous administration, they tell us there's need to increase tariff. At some point, they will increase the tariff, then they deny that the tariffs are not increased. And then people have been able to cope with this, this increment gradually. And consistently, the more they increase, the more the power collapse. Over time, you hear that since 2010, if you remember, Chris, we've been hovering between 5,000 megawatts and 6. Told us that no, they didn't have capacity to generate. So I began to wonder what was the difference. And consistently we'll be hovering between 5,000 and 6,000. And this issue of band A or band B was actually introduced by the transmission companies when they had this arrangement with some companies for consistent supply, so that they increase tariff and then they consistently give you light. If it's about 350%, and then you presume that there are some certain persons that consistently enjoy up to 20 hours power supply. Like I have asked, how about a situation where you continue to charge them that 350% and there is a collapse and they don't even get up to 2 hours supply? What happens? Nobody's discussing all of those things. And that's why I think, like you have suggested, it would have been easy. We agree market reflective increase. But also, who is asking the question market reflective supply? How about those people who are not even metered at all? Nobody's discussing. We still have people whose bill are consistently being estimated. Why don't we, for the past we're talking about those who have prepaid meter now and who have to vend at that exorbitant rate, and yet there is no power. If you can say, some persons also have argued that yes, when you vend at that high rate, at that 350% increase, so if there is no power, then you don't consume the unit. That's not the issue. A business that ordinarily you spend 100,000 naira to vend before, to pay for power monthly, and now you're spending 350,000 naira to pay for power that you do not get, because there's a presumption that you get 20 hours, and at the end of the day you pay 350 and then you don't get power. And yet this is the
All right, I think we're having some audio problem from our Lagos studio, but I want to thank our guest on this developing story on the electricity tariff issue, Oluwadamilola, who is here with me in the studio, Liberos Oshoma, who is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, as well as Dr. Sam Amadi, a former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission that just increased with over 300% Nigeria's electricity tariff. Thank you very much for coming on Newsnight.